It's not freeze-dried. It's not vacuum-sealed in some bunker warehouse 3 states away. It's not something you need a military surplus card to buy. It's already in your kitchen right now, probably sitting on a shelf you've walked past twice today without looking at it once. And almost nobody has enough of it. There's a second item on this list, number 1, that a Green Beret medic told me he keeps in quantities most families would call excessive. We'll get there. But first, you need to understand why the shelf you're not looking at is the one that matters most. Grocery prices are up over 27% since 2020, and shelf-stable protein has climbed even faster than that. Supply chains that looked unshakable 5 years ago have proven, more than once, that always in stock is a promise, not a guarantee. When distribution slows down, a storm, a strike, a bad quarter for a supplier, the shelves don't empty out evenly. They empty out by category. And the categories that go first are exactly the ones people assume they can always just run out and grab. That's what this list is built around. 7 specific items, each one chosen for a concrete, defensible reason. Shelf life, calorie density, nutritional completeness, or barter value. Not vibes, not just in case. Actual reasons a veteran survival instructor would give you if you sat down and asked him directly. And the closer we get to number 1, the harder this gets to ignore. Number 7, canned meat. Most families stockpile canned vegetables and completely ignore the one canned item that actually keeps you alive. Here's the layer people miss. A standard can of chicken, beef, or ham runs roughly 15 to 20 grams of protein per serving, has a shelf-stable rating from the USDA of 2 to 5 years past the printed date if stored correctly, and requires 0 preparation, no water, no heat, no power. Compare that to dried protein sources, which need cooking fuel and clean water you may not have. During extended power outages, canned meat isn't a backup plan, it's the plan. The reason it earned this spot isn't shelf life alone. It's that canned meat is one of the only survival staples that delivers complete protein and fat in a single sealed unit, which matters enormously when your caloric needs spike under physical stress. Buy the pull-top version specifically, no can opener dependency, and rotate stock every 18 months into regular meals so nothing goes to waste. Store on a lower shelf, away from direct light, ideally below 75 Fahrenheit. Hold this one in mind. At number 1, it connects to something most people completely miss. Number 6, white rice, brown rice, is the healthier choice everywhere, except in a stockpile, where it will actively work against you. The oils in brown rice's bran layer are what make it nutritious, and also what makes it go rancid in 6 to 12 months. White rice, stripped of that layer, has an official USDA-recognized shelf life of over 25 years when stored in food-grade buckets with oxygen absorbers. 1 pound of dry white rice yields roughly 3 pounds cooked, delivering over 600 calories, a genuinely enormous return for the storage space it occupies. This is why nearly every long-term food storage calculator built by preparedness organizations puts rice at the literal foundation of the pyramid. It's the item everything else gets stacked on top of. Calorically speaking, buy in 25 to 50-pound bags from a warehouse retailer, repackage into food-grade 5-gallon buckets with mylar liners and oxygen absorbers, and store somewhere consistently cool and dark. A closet, not a garage. The next one involves a price gap that's genuinely hard to justify. Number 5, dried beans. A pound of dried black beans costs less than $2 and contains more usable protein per dollar than almost anything else sold in a grocery store. Nutritionally, beans and rice together form a complete amino acid profile, something neither food achieves alone. This isn't folk wisdom. It's basic protein-combining science taught in nutrition programs for exactly this reason. Dried beans also store 10+ years in sealed, oxygen-free conditions, and unlike canned beans, they take up a fraction of the space and weight per calorie delivered. The reveal here is simple but underappreciated. Rice and beans together, in the right ratio, can genuinely sustain an adult's caloric and protein needs for extended periods, which is exactly why they show up, together, in nearly every serious long-term food storage plan built by people who've actually run the numbers. Store dried beans the same way as rice. Mylar-lined buckets with oxygen absorbers, and keep a smaller, rotating supply of canned beans on hand for quick meals that don't require an 8-hour soak. Picture week 3 of living entirely on what's in your pantry right now. Number 4. Powdered milk. Most people write this off as a Depression-era relic. That's exactly the mistake worth correcting. Modern powdered milk, specifically the nitrogen-packed, instant non-fat variety, carries a shelf life of 20+ years unopened and delivers calcium, vitamin D, and protein that dried grains and legumes simply don't provide. In a scenario where fresh dairy disappears from shelves for weeks, powdered milk isn't a nostalgia item. It's the only practical way to keep bone density and protein intake from quietly declining in kids and older adults in the household. This is the item nutritionists who specialize in disaster preparedness consistently flag as the most overlooked gap in home stockpiles. People load up on calories and completely forget about calcium. Buy it in a 10 can rather than a resealable bag. Once opened, use within a reasonable window and store a smaller open container for regular baking and cooking to keep it in rotation. Take a breath here. We're at the halfway point. Everything from here forward carries significantly more weight. These aren't just calorie sources anymore. These are the items that determine whether your family maintains morale, health, and negotiating power when things get genuinely difficult. And here's one detail about number 1 I haven't mentioned yet. It's the only food on this entire list that archaeologists have found still edible after being sealed for over 3,000 years. Number 3. Peanut butter. This is the item on the list that has almost nothing to do with survival math and everything to do with keeping people sane. Peanut butter delivers roughly 190 calories and 7 grams of protein per 2 tablespoons serving, has a shelf-stable life of 1 to 2 years unopened, and, critically, requires no cooking, no water, and no preparation of any kind. But the real reason it earns a top 5 spot isn't nutritional, it's psychological. In documented long-duration food stress studies, comfort foods with high-fat content have been shown to measurably reduce anxiety and improve group cohesion, something rice and beans, however efficient, simply cannot do. We've been talking about survival. This next section is about something different. Morale. Choose the natural oil-separated kind for longer shelf stability, store it upright in a cool pantry, and rotate it into regular sandwiches so it's never sitting unused for years at a time. Number 2. Salt. Here's something most channels covering this topic will never say directly. Salt isn't a seasoning in a survival context. It's a preservation tool, and without it, everything else on this list eventually fails. Salt has an effectively infinite shelf life. Properly stored, it does not expire. But its real value is functional. It's required to cure and preserve meat, ferment vegetables, and extend the usable life of food you'll process yourself if supply chains stay disrupted for an extended period. Historically, salt has been valuable enough to be used as currency. The word celery comes directly from Roman soldiers being partially paid in it. That's not trivia. That's a signal of how central it's always been to human survival planning. This one and number 1 together form the most overlooked combination on this entire list, because almost nobody stockpiles the ingredient that makes long-term food preservation possible in the first place. Buy plain, iodized salt in bulk, the kind without anti-caking additives if you plan to use it for preserving, and store it in a sealed, moisture-proof container. A little goes an extremely long way. Now, the one I've been building toward, number 1. Honey. Sealed jars of honey have been recovered from Egyptian tombs over 3,000 years old and were still safe to eat. No expiration, no refrigeration required, and a chemical composition so low in moisture and so acidic that bacteria simply cannot survive in it. That's not a survival myth. It's basic food chemistry. And it's why honey sits at the top of nearly every serious long-term storage list built by people who understand shelf stability. But honey's real value goes past calories. It's a natural antimicrobial that's been used medicinally for wound care for centuries and is still referenced in modern clinical literature for topical treatment. It's a concentrated energy source that requires zero preparation, and it's one of the only foods on this entire list that can also function as currency, medicine, and morale all at once. Remember that shelf you walked past twice today without looking at it? This is what was sitting on it. Buy raw, unfiltered honey if you can find it locally. Store it sealed at room temperature, away from direct sunlight. And don't worry if it crystallizes over time. That's normal. And a warm water bath restores it completely. Every item on this list earned its place for a specific defensible reason: shelf life, protein density, preservation power, or morale. None of it is guesswork, and none of it requires a bunker. Together, these 7 items form a foundation that covers calories, protein, calcium, preservation, and mental resilience. The full range of what actually keeps a family stable when the ordinary systems slow down. Start with the rice and beans. Add the canned meat and powdered milk. Round it out with peanut butter, salt, and honey. Build the kind of pantry that means your family has options, no matter what the next few months bring, because the real question isn't whether prices go up again. It's whether you'll be the family reacting to it, or the one who was already ready.
This video is only for the educational and information purpose. All the content used in this video is real and authentic and can be changed anytime. The tools and other things that's being used in this video are totally safe and according to the manufacturer policy. Thank you so much.